Hi there, I'm Phil, and in these story analysis videos, I take a look at a film in terms of its story structure, character arcs, and themes. Today, we're looking at Fight Club. Make sure you've seen the film, spoilers ahead. I mean it, stop watching now if you haven't seen the film. I can't talk about Fight Club unless you've seen the film. Fight Club was released in 1999, written by Jim Uhls, from the novel by Chuck Palahniuk. It was directed by David Fincher and stars Brad Pitt, Edward Norton, Meat Loaf, and Helena Bonham Carter. Even at the time Fight Club was being made in the late 90s, it was one of those films that almost didn't get made.
At that budgetary level, yeah, that was more of a risk-taking period, I think.
The story was so unusual, the book almost untranslatable into cinema.
I finished my own rough first draft of the script and looked at it and said, this will kill the project if I turn this in.
Kill it why? Like what do you think was...
It comes in, they read it, and they go, oh, it wasn't really something you could adapt from a book.
Now, I've not read the book, so I can't do a straight one-to-one comparison here. I'm just looking at the film itself. The structure of the film does follow a fairly straightforward three-act structure when it comes right down to it. But there is so much else going on, of course. And it's one of those films that you need to watch a couple of times once you know how it ends to understand all the little Easter eggs that are peppered throughout the film that do give you very obvious clues to what happens and what's going on. But hopefully, you do not realize that on a first viewing until you're meant to realize it.
Well, people who haven't seen the movie don't know what it's about, so
where we're
I don't
heading towards,
for what the nature of the characters is, so we don't really want to ruin that.
We don't want to give that away.
The key thing here, of course, and you've seen the film, no doubt, is that the character of Tyler Durden, played by Brad Pitt, is in fact a figment of Edward Norton's imagination. He is Tyler Durden. Both characters are the same person.
Do you mind that we're breaking the first rule of Fight Club and talking about Fight Club?
Oh, I forgot we were. Yeah, that's right.
The film starts in Act 3 with this cold open and this line of dialogue.
People are always asking me if I know Tyler Durden.
That already gives us a clue to what's really going on here.
3 minutes. This is it. Ground zero. Would you like to say a few words to mark the occasion?
With a gun barrel between your teeth, you speak only in vowels.
I can't think of anything.
For a second, I totally forget about Tyler's whole controlled demolition thing, and I wonder how clean that gun is.
But see how already this opening differs from the original script. A lot of the exposition has been cut to avoid giving too much away. And even the lines that are kept have been changed slightly. Because this is all voiceover, it could easily have been done during the edit on post-production as they were putting this sequence together.
I know this, because Tyler knows this.
The first act of the film is basically establishing Edward Norton's character, who in the screenplay is called Jack, by the way. On IMDb and other credits, he's just called the narrator. But in the screenplay, he was given the name of Jack.
I am Jack's medulla oblongata. Without me, Jack cannot regulate his heart rate, blood pressure, or breathing.
Act 1 establishes Jack as being in a rut. A very consumeristic, humdrum, work-driven rut.
I'd flip through catalogs and wonder, what kind of dining set defines me as a person?
And the key inciting incident here is, of course, he can't sleep.
You can't die from insomnia.
What about narcolepsy?
But it's recommended he go to one of these groups.
Swing by First Methodist Tuesday nights. See the guys with testicular cancer. That's pain.
And when he meets Bob, Meat Loaf's character,
Go ahead, Cornelius. You can cry.
and discovers an emotional outlet, he's then able to sleep.
Babies don't sleep this well.
Okay, problem solved, right? He's found a way to cure his insomnia. And so keeps going to these groups. But then Marla turns up.
Marla, the big tourist. Her lie reflected my lie. And suddenly, I felt nothing. I couldn't cry. So once again, I couldn't sleep.
The first act turning point is when he meets Tyler.
We have the exact same briefcase.
Soap.
Sorry?
I make and I sell soap. The yardstick of civilization.
And this is how I met
Tyler Durden.
And the more Jack sleeps, the more time he spends unconscious, the more Tyler gets to take over.
Tyler was a night person. While the rest of us were sleeping, he worked.
The key choice moment here really becomes when his apartment gets blown up.
I suppose these things happen.
And he chooses to call Tyler.
Hello?
Who's this?
Tyler?
Now they go out, they have a drink, they talk, but we're not really at the end of Act 1 until...
Cut the foreplay and just ask, man.
Would that be a problem?
Is it a problem for you to ask?
Can I stay at your place?
Yeah.
And they punch each other. That now is the end of Act 1. They move into the house, and we're into Act 2.
I don't know how Tyler found that house, but he said he'd been there for a year.
That Act 1 turning point establishes, one, the A-plot, which is the Fight Club itself, and the A-plot spine, which deals with the nature of masculinity. What does it mean to be a man in this world? Given that so much of the masculinity of modern manhood in the context of this story has been stripped away.
But I think we're in a whole generation of young boys now that have never had a fight in a schoolyard.
Well, this is what the book, where the book springboards from, saying that we are all spectators. We don't participate anymore. We sit behind our TV screens and our leather sofas and don't get in there. And the expression of the book that I was really drawn to was not about getting out in aggression, was not about pounding the other guy. Mm-hmm. It was more about just getting in the machine and receiving.
We're a generation of men raised by women. I'm wondering if another woman is really the answer we need.
And the turning point for the B-plot is, of course, the new relationship, the new friendship between Tyler and Jack.
We should do this again sometime.
The first half of Act 2 focuses on building that relationship.
At night, Tyler and I were alone for a half a mile in every direction.
And also the building of a Fight Club.
The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club. The second rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
The midpoint is when he meets up again with Marla. He's abandoned his groups, he's now got Tyler, but when she calls him, she now comes back into the story in the second half of Act 2.
I haven't seen you at any support groups.
We split them up. That was the idea, remember?
Yeah, but you haven't been going to yours.
She becomes one of the key obstacles for Tyler. She could inadvertently reveal his true nature.
What are you doing here?
Can't have you talking to her about me.
Why would I talk to her?
Say anything about me or what goes on in this house to her or to anybody. We're done.
This conversation
is over.
Is over. He's not here.
What?
Tyler isn't here.
The second half of Act 2 for the A-plot is the building of Project Mayhem.
This week, each one of you has a homework assignment.
Tyler built himself an army.
We are the all-singing, all-dancing crap of the world. We are all part of the same compost heap.
Sir, the first rule of Project Mayhem is you do not ask.
Right, okay.
The second act turning point of this, therefore, becomes when the true nature of Tyler is discovered by Jack. This is given to us in a series of little revelations until...
Who do you think I am?
Are you sure this isn't a test?
No, this is not a test.
You're Mr. Durden.
You love me, you hate me. You show me a sensitive side, then you turn into a total asshole. Is that a pretty accurate description of our relationship, Tyler?
We have just lost cabin pressure.
Hopefully by this point, if you've been watching the film for the first time, you only worked this out with Jack as he was discovering it. This is one of the key tricks of the film, the way it's written, the way it's directed. Jack, Edward Norton's character, is our POV character. He's our point of view character. We only see the story from his perspective. And one of the tricks here, because we have this inner monologue, we hear his narration, is not to give too much away, as Jim Uhls, the screenwriter, explains.
I remember that David had said the narration should not help the audience. It should be its own disembodied thing, which I was doing to some degree, but I was still using it too much. So then I just changed it all to commentary that either did not move the story forward, but moved the character forward, or contradicted what you're seeing.
Used to be that when I came home angry or depressed, I'd just clean my condo, polish my Scandinavian furniture. I should have been looking for a new condo. I should have been haggling with my insurance company. I should have been upset about my nice, neat, flaming little shit. But I wasn't.
If you're going to have a twist later in the film, you need to put us in the point of view of a character, the central character usually, who does not know something. And when they find it out, we find it out as an audience. That's the case here with Jack in Fight Club. At the second act turning point, he works it out. And that leads us into Act 3, the major confrontation with the Fight Club gang of anarchists and trying to stop Project Mayhem.
You said if anyone ever interferes with Project Mayhem, even you, we gotta get his balls.
Here, now that we know the truth and Tyler knows he's been outed, we have a very interesting confrontation between self and self.
Wow! Okay, you are now firing a gun at your imaginary friend near 400 gallons of nitroglycerin!
Which brings us back around to our opening scene, of course.
I think this is about where we came in.
Would you like to say a few words to mark the occasion? I'm sorry?
I still can't think of anything.
Flashback humor.
Tyler Durden being the version of himself that was too scared to be a true man, too scared to make daring, bold choices.
These things that seem to define who we are, that we think will define who we are, but instead they end up anesthetizing ourselves and just numbing ourselves. And that's what I found most interesting about the story.
By trying to bring back agency and proactivity to what it means to be a man in this society.
It's not about aggression. It's not about solving your problems by taking your frustration outward against other people. It's about the idea of saying, I've become numb. Let me try to strip away a lot of what people have told me I need and start to experience things myself.
In some ways, seeking pain, the pain is better than feeling nothing.
One of the lovely ironies of this film is, of course, that Bob, as played by Meatloaf, is also a version of masculinity and manhood. A man with giant tits.
Bob had bitch tits. This was a support group for men with testicular cancer.
Nevertheless, he is a version of what a man can be.
We're still men.
Yes, we're men. Men is what we are.
However, Tyler Durden has swung the pendulum way too far the other way, to the point where they become an anarchistic terrorist group. Now, they're not trying to kill people, but they are trying to destroy society in the way it's set up.
You can find spiritual peace through home furnishing, through the right stereo system. Advertising has us chasing
cars and clothes.
Money so that we can buy stuff that we don't need.
Hate, so we can buy shit we don't need.
Or we've been raised on television
to believe that one day we'd all be millionaires and movie gods and rock stars, but we won't.
And we're discovering that we're not, and we're very upset about it.
And Marla, the Helena Bonham character, becomes a wonderful counter to this. She, after all, is a female character in this world. And how do they relate to women in this world? And she is not your usual love interest, feminine archetype. She's not the damsel in distress, after all.
Looks like this is goodbye.
Well, let's not make a big thing out of it, okay?
How's this for not making a big thing? I think she acts a catalyst for what we discover has really happened, if you see what I mean.
And one of the tricks in this film, in hiding the twist, is that we never see Tyler and Jack in the same room with Marla at the same time.
Get rid of her.
What? Hey, you get rid of her!
Don't mention me.
I'm 6 years old again, passing messages between parents.
That when Jack does talk about Tyler in front of her, the way she reacts doesn't give away the game, and yet it's perfectly in keeping with the character.
What do you get out of it?
No, that's not the same thing at all. I mean, it's totally different with us. We're...
Us? What do you mean by us?
I'm sorry, do you hear this?
Hear what?
You're not hearing all that noise? Just hold on a second.
No, wait. What were you saying? Don't change the subject. I want to talk about this.
You're not talking about me, are you?
The final half of Act 3, with the confrontation between Jack and Tyler, results in Jack choosing to get rid of him. He wants to get rid of him. He wants to kill him off. And he realizes the only way he can do that is effectively to kill himself.
Why you want to put a gun to your head?
my head, Tyler. Our head.
Now, he manages not to kill himself in the process, just badly wound his face, of course.
Oh my God, your face.
But in the process, he has killed off Tyler.
What's that smell?
And the Jack we end up with at the end is somewhere in between the social drone wimp that he was at the start and the extreme, almost fascist version of Tyler Durden. He's somewhere in between those two extremes, which is what you want as a true expression of manhood. And I love the final shot where it's just him and Marla watching the buildings collapse. This is the way to write a film that has a major twist, a major revelation about a character. By putting it in the character's point of view, so we find out when they find out, and peppering the film with clues. There's lots of clues. The flash frames.
Everything's a copy of a copy.
There are snippets of dialogue and interactions that can be interpreted in many ways.
You know what, I really think it's time you got out of here.
Don't worry, I'm leaving.
Yeah, not that we don't love your little visit.
You know, you are such a nutcase. I can't even begin to keep up.
And the writers and David Fincher do a very good job in guiding the audience along without revealing too much.
Sometimes Tyler spoke for me.
Fell down some stairs.
Fell down some stairs.
The other key thing here is the big twist happens at the second act turning point. Act 3 for this film is now dealing with the consequences of that knowledge, trying to undo what Tyler did, and trying to get rid of Tyler. If you're going to have a major twist, a major revelation about a character that they themselves aren't even aware of, then it's a fine balancing act between leaving enough clues so that it doesn't come across as a complete Deus Ex Machina, the hand of God coming down and just suddenly changing things on you, and yet hiding those clues well enough that on a first viewing, people will not see it.
That's pain.
They're distracted from it. They make a false interpretation of the lines or the action or the behaviour. That's the trick to doing a twist and yet having it make sense in the context of your film.
He had a plan, and it started to make sense in a Tyler sort of way.
So that's my take on Fight Club. If you like these kinds of videos, you know what to do. If you'd like to learn more about filmmaking, check out my book linked in the description. And if you'd like to support the channel, consider joining my Patreon, where you'll see a few videos I can't show here on YouTube. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
You're not your job. You're not how much money you have in the bank. Not the car you drive. You're not the contents of your wallet. You're not your fucking khakis. You're the all-singing, all-dancing crap of the world.